Good evening and welcome to 英語から英会話 Live, where we study and practice English while having a great time. What's one of the best things about 英語から英会話 Live? You can practice English while watching the show by sharing ideas in the chat. Viewers who share an idea in one video in a month are 365 English Study Samurai. And viewers who share an idea in 5 videos in a month are Daimyo. And viewers who share an idea in 10 videos in a month are Shogun / Ohime-sama. So far, we have 6 Daimyo and 5 of who are very close to becoming shoguns / Ohime-samas. And 2 samurai, which is great. So let's begin the show with a question and answer from me to you. So my first question is, are there any good places to visit around the area where you live? I'm going to give you 4 minutes to share an idea in the chat. Again, the question is, are there any good places to visit around the area where you live? I think for me, the best place to visit is the Guma Prefectural Office. It's kind of near the area where I live. How about you? Are there any good places to visit around the area where you live? Please let me know in the chat. Are there any good places to visit around the area where you live? Good question. Now, some people might live near a famous shrine or temple. It's kind of a fun, good place to visit. Or a park, like Maebashi Park or Shikishima Park, Maebashi Rose Garden Park. Sometimes a shopping center. Like for me, I live near Keaki Walk. It's a good place to visit. How about you? Are there any good places to visit around the area where you live? Please let me know in the chat. I think a great place to visit is the Takashimaya Beer Garden, but it's not around the area where I live. So, that's okay too, if you want to, share a place that you think is good to visit, but it's not in the area where you live, that's okay too. Are there any good places to visit? I know in Takasaki, the Kannon statue is a good place to visit. Again, but that's not in the area where I live. Any other good places to visit? In Isesaki, let's see. Take Agnor, thank you for joining the show. There's a big bookstore. That's great. I think bookstores are great places to visit, especially in the summer, because they're nice and cool inside. You can stay a long time looking at books. Nice idea. There are a few bookstores in the area where I live too. Nice idea. Anyone else? Any good places to visit? Takesh says, I recommend the Guma Museum of Natural History. Nice idea, Takesh, and thank you for joining the show. Yeah, the Guma Museum of Natural History is a great place to visit. Yeah, I've taken my family there a few times, and that's definitely a great place to visit. I think that's near the Guma Safari Park, which I think is another nice place to visit. All right. Well, time's up. But if you get an idea, please feel free to share your idea anytime. All right, but we're going to move on to the next question, which is a very important question. What do you think is the best way to recover from heat exhaustion? What do you think is the best way to recover from heat exhaustion? I think this is a very important question nowadays because it's so hot. And I think, I was suffering from heat exhaustion today, this morning. So I want you guys to please share your ideas with me. What do you think is the best way to recover from heat exhaustion? Hmm, this is a very serious question, serious problem nowadays. Maybe do you think drinking beer is the best way to recover from heat exhaustion? Joke, that's a joke. Charming, thank you for joining the show. I think Omuro Park is good. Yeah, I think so too. Omuro Park is great. That's a great place to visit. Nice idea. All right, we're moving on. What do you think is the best way to recover from heat exhaustion? Please let me know in the chat. I've tried, I think like I've tried sleeping, uh, but okay, K Workshop. Thank you for joining the show. I think the best way to recover from heat exhaustion is taking a water bath. Nice idea. Kan Mama, thank you for joining the show. I think the best way is to stay cool all day, in a cool room all day. Yeah, that's definitely good if you can stay in a cool room all day. Nice idea. Takanona, thank you for joining the show. I think the best way to cool down is to stay in a cool place. Yeah, I think so too. I haven't done it for a long time, but um, when I played sports, and sometimes I had a muscle strain. I've heard that like using a bag of frozen peas and like you can put it on the shoulder or something. Takesh says, I think it is to take a cold shower. Nice idea. Maybe I'll try that tomorrow morning. And I feel like maybe I have heat exhaustion every day this time of year. So maybe tomorrow I'll try to take a cold shower in the morning. I think, as maybe you guys have all heard from me, I'm a very big fan of using Bacardi Sweat mix and adding it to like a big bottle of water, 2 liter bottle of water, shaking it up and drinking it, but only 25% strength. Okay, thank you for sharing your great ideas. Let's move on to the next section. Eigo Kara Eikaiwa Unit 15. Oh my gosh. Section A. So, in this section, we're going to look at the sentence, she sleeps 8 hours every day. how can we make she sleeps 8 hours every day more useful for English conversation? First, I recommend, what do you think is important to sleep well? What do you think is important to sleep well? What do you think is important to sleep well? Next, I recommend, for me, sleeping in a room with no sunlight is very important. How about you? For me, sleeping in a room with no sunlight is very important. How about you? For me, sleeping in a room with no sunlight is very important. How about you? Lastly, I recommend, how much sleep do you want to get usually? How much sleep do you want to get usually? How much sleep do you want to get usually? Okay, so how can you make she sleeps 8 hours every day more useful for English conversation? Please share your ideas in the chat. I will give you 4 minutes to think of an idea. And remember, anything's okay. Talk about sleep. You can talk about every day. Yeah, it's up to you. Anything's fine, but please share your ideas in the chat. He sleeps 8 hours every day. What would you can talk about yourself. You might say, I sleep 1 hour every day. It's a joke. That's a joke, of course. But how about you? Very simple but useful sentence. Maybe you could talk about your family or a friend. Like, my friend sleeps 10 hours every day. How about you? Useful. But yeah, anyways, those are just some examples. Please feel free to share your idea in the chat. Right now, we're thinking about how we can make she sleeps 8 hours every day more useful for English conversation. If you have an idea, please feel free to share it in the chat. I know, nowadays, because it's so hot, many people might be having a hard time to sleep. So, yeah. All right. Takanona says she always sleeps with her 2 dogs. Nice idea. Taka Agnor says she studies French 1 hour every day. Nice idea. Charming. It's very hot every night, so I wake up many times. How about you? I used to wake up many times. I would get so hot at night, and my pillow would get very wet from sweat. I would sweat, and my pillow would get so wet. But recently, I sleep in the living room where it's cooler, and I don't drink beer as much, and so no problem sometimes. All right, Takesh says, do not look at your smartphone before going to bed. Oh, good but difficult idea. Oh, yeah, I 100% agree. But it's so tough not to look at your smartphone before going to bed. That's very difficult, but good idea. All right. Now, one thing, I always recommend is, if possible, instead of using a sentence, try to use a question. So, for example, Here we go. Question. K Workshop says, where do you think is the best place to sleep on a hot night? Nice question. I would say, I think the best place to sleep is in a room with an air conditioner on. I know some people, that's not a good place, but for me, that's the best place. How about you? That'd be good. Okay, great job, everyone. Nice work. Let's move on to the last section for tonight. Question and answer from you to me. You can ask me any question, and I will give you 4 minutes, and I will do my best to answer your questions. So let's begin. And I know, okay, Workshop he just asked me a question. Where do you think is the best place to sleep on a hot night? That's a good question. And like I said, I think for me, in a room with an air conditioner. But how about you, K Workshop? Where do you think is the best place to sleep on a hot night? Any kind of question is okay. This is your chance to use English. If I would say, if you study English, this is a good chance to use it. Takesh says, how tall are you? Well, that's a great question. I think I'm about 188 centimeters, but I don't know. I haven't checked recently. I could be a little bit shorter. Okay, come Mama says, which language do you speak with your son? Great question. I often, I often use English, but sometimes I use Japanese too. I think it's good. It's good for my son to know that I understand Japanese too. Takanona says, recently it has been raining suddenly in the evening. Do you often check the weather forecast? I don't often check the weather forecast, but I do. I do. I kind of felt like it was the same condition as yesterday. I thought, oh, is it gonna rain? And I checked the weather forecast. It said no rain, but it rained. Crazy. How about you, Takanona? Do you often check the weather forecast? Good question. All right, people. Any questions? Okay. Armin, I wanted to ask you the same question as Kan Mama's question. Oh, okay. Yeah. Recently, the only kind of crazy thing about being a father is you don't have a lot of time with your kids, and so yeah, I don't have a lot of time to speak with my son. But when I do, I usually try to use English, but sometimes Japanese, and he does not like Spanish or German so much. So I do, sometimes use a little Spanish, but he does not like it too much. All right. Well, that's the end of the time we have. So thank you so much for studying with me and sharing lots of great ideas. I think I will definitely try taking a cold shower tomorrow morning. And hopefully that will help me recover from my heat exhaustion. Hot. Okay, so hope everyone has a great night. Take care, be safe, be careful, and I look forward to seeing you at the next show. Bye.